Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're enjoying our content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any of our videos. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Welcome, friends, thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see, show us some love by hitting that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all our latest videos. Now, let's jump right into the main event. Hello and welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. If you're new or haven't yet, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more amazing content. With that said, let's get into what we have prepared for you today. Hi there. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, as the whispers of the imperial palace began to stir with the evening breeze. Within the labyrinthine corridors of this ancient world, where power danced as a shadow and the walls hummed with secrets, walked those whose lives were defined by the whims of the emperor. Among them, a young man named Lien found his fate intertwined with the delicate yet perilous thread of a male concubine. Lien was a creature of grace, his movements as fluid as silk unfurling in the wind. Born to a family whose fortunes had waned with the passing seasons, his beauty had been both a blessing and a curse. It was what brought him to the palace, chosen for the emperor's court, a place where life flourished or faded under the weight of silent expectations. The halls of the palace were a world unto themselves, a place where time seemed to drift like a languid river, its flow interrupted only by the quiet ceremonies of daily life. Lanterns flickered gently, casting their soft, golden glow upon the lacquered floors and the richly embroidered tapestries that lined the walls. Each corner of this place whispered tales of opulence and strife, of whispered promises and veiled threats. Lien's days began in the early morning haze, when the sun barely brushed the horizon. He would wake to the sound of distant flutes, their notes wafting through the palace gardens like the first breath of spring. His duties were varied, yet always woven with the strands of elegance and restraint. To serve the emperor was to become part of an intricate dance, one where each step was measured, each gesture deliberate. The emperor, a man of inscrutable demeanor, held court like a quiet tempest. His gaze could both warm and chill, a paradox that kept all who served him in a constant state of reverent vigilance. He was a man of many secrets, wrapped in silks of the finest weave, his presence a tapestry of command and mystery. To be near him was to walk the edge of a precipice, a place where the slightest misstep could send one tumbling into oblivion. Yet, within this world of carefully orchestrated rituals, there were moments of unexpected intimacy. The emperor, in his moments of solitude, would sometimes summon Lien not for duty, but for companionship. In these stolen hours, they spoke of poetry in the stars, of dreams untethered by the confines of their station. There was a bond, fragile as the first frost, yet it held a warmth that neither could fully comprehend. But within the palace, danger was an unseen companion, lurking in the shadows of ambition. The emperor's favor was a coveted jewel, and Lien found himself the subject of envy among those who sought to unravel the delicate threads of his standing. There were whispers in the silk-draped corridors, murmurs of intrigue that wrapped around him like the tendrils of a creeping vine. One evening, as the moon cast its silver net upon the world, Lien found himself drawn to the gardens, a place of solace where he could escape the weight of the palace's silent demands. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the night sang with the soft chorus of crickets. Here, beneath the canopy of ancient trees, he felt the whisper of freedom, a fleeting sensation that danced on the periphery of his senses. Yet, as he wandered deeper into the garden's embrace, a flicker of movement caught his eye. It was a shadow, slipping between the trunks of the trees, a presence both elusive and unsettling. Lien paused, his heart quickening, a silent alarm sounding in the depths of his being. He was not alone. The figure emerged from the shadows, a man cloaked in the muted colors of the night. His face was a mask of calm, yet his eyes held a glint of something darker, something that spoke of unseen machinations. He was a stranger in a place where strangers were seldom found, and his presence was a ripple in the tranquil surface of Lian's world. "Do not be alarmed," the man spoke, his voice a soft murmur that blended with the night. "I mean you no harm." Lian's instincts, honed by years within the palace, urged caution. Yet, there was something in the man's demeanor, a quiet intensity that piqued his curiosity. "Who are you?" Lian asked, his voice steady despite the unease that coiled within him. "A friend," the man replied, though the smile that touched his lips was shadowed by ambiguity. "I bear a message, one that must remain between us." Lian hesitated, the weight of the palace's walls pressing upon him even here, in this place of supposed sanctuary. "What message?" The man stepped closer, his movements graceful yet deliberate. "There are those who wish to see you fall, to see your light extinguished from the Emperor's favor. You must tread carefully, for the path before you is fraught with peril." Lian felt the chill of foreboding seep into his bones, the garden suddenly a place of tangled threats rather than serene refuge. "Why should I trust you?" "You should not," the man replied, his gaze steady. "But know this. The palace is not what it seems, and danger wears the guise of friendship." With those words, the man turned, his figure melting into the shadows from whence he came, leaving Lian alone beneath the watchful eyes of the moon. The night air felt heavier now, and the garden's beauty seemed tinged with an edge of danger. Lian returned to his chambers, his mind a tumult of questions and uncertainties. The palace, once a place of silent grace, had become a maze of potential betrayals and unseen threats. He could feel the invisible threads of destiny tightening around him, each one pulling him toward an unknown future. As he lay beneath the silken canopy of his bed, Lian closed his eyes, seeking the refuge of dreams. Yet, even in sleep, he was not free. His dreams were haunted by shadows, by the faceless whisperers who lurked in the corridors of power. He was adrift in a sea of intrigue, the tides of which he could not yet control. And so, the night passed in a restless dance of moonlight and shadow, and the palace continued to hum with its secrets, each one a note in the symphony of an ancient, unyielding world. As dawn's first light crept through the latticed windows, painting the walls with delicate hues of gold and rose, Lian awoke with the gentle insistence of a new day unfurling before him. The air was laden with the soft scent of jasmine, a reminder of the garden's earlier allure, yet now it seemed to carry a whisper of something more, a promise or perhaps a warning. Lian rose from his bed, his feet finding the cool, smooth surface of the polished floor. He moved with a graceful ease, honed by years of training to please and entertain. As a male concubine, his life was one of constant performance, a delicate balance between being seen and unseen, desired yet disposable. In the Emperor's court, beauty was both a shield and a weapon, and Lian wielded it with a skill that belied his years. Yet today, an unfamiliar weight clung to his steps, a sense of foreboding that refused to be shaken off. As he dressed, wrapping himself in layers of silk that whispered against his skin, Lian's mind returned to the encounter in the garden. Who was that shadowy figure, and what did his cryptic words portend? The questions coiled around his thoughts like snakes, refusing to be disentangled. The day's routine unfolded with the practiced elegance of a calligraphy brush gliding over parchment. Lian attended to his duties with the precision of a dancer, each movement deliberate and measured. He served tea to the ladies of the court, their laughter a delicate tinkling that echoed through the grand halls. He painted delicate scenes of nature on silk, his brushstrokes capturing the ephemeral beauty of blossom and bird. Yet, even amidst these tranquil tasks, his mind remained elsewhere, suspended in a web of uncertainty. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, its rays filtering through the intricate latticework of the palace, Lian found himself summoned to the private chambers of Lady May, one of the Emperor's favored consorts. She was a woman of striking beauty, her presence commanding and enigmatic. Her eyes, dark as the depths of a forest pool, seemed to see through the layers of courtly deception. "Lian," she greeted him with a voice as soft as the rustle of silk, "come, sit with me." He complied, folding himself gracefully onto the cushion beside her. The room was bathed in warm light, the air perfumed with the scent of peonies. Yet beneath this serene facade, Lien sensed an undercurrent of tension, like the taut strings of a guzheng poised to sing. Last night, she began, her gaze fixed on the garden beyond the window. There were whispers of unrest. I have heard troubling things. Lien's heart quickened, the memory of the shadowy figure in the garden flashing through his mind. What sort of things, my lady? He asked, his voice a careful blend of curiosity and caution. Rumors of discontent, of plots that weave through the very heart of the court, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There are those who would see the emperor fall, who covet the power that he holds. The words settled over Lien like a cloak of dread. He had always known that the court was a place of hidden dangers, but the thought of treachery so close at hand was unsettling. And you believe these rumors to be true? He inquired, searching her expression for any hint of doubt. Lady May turned to him, her eyes locking onto his with a piercing intensity. In this world, Lien, truth is a rare and precious thing. One must learn to read between the lines, to listen to the silences as well as the words. Her gaze softened then, and she reached out to touch his hand, her fingers cool and delicate. Be careful, Lien. The court is a sea of shifting alliances and hidden agendas. Trust is a luxury few can afford. Lien nodded, the weight of her warning settling heavily on his shoulders. He understood the precariousness of his position, the tightrope he walked between favor and oblivion. Yet, in that moment, a resolve began to form within him, a determination to navigate the treacherous waters of court life with the same grace he brought to his performances. As the day wore on, the palace continued its symphony of activity, a tapestry of sound and color that enveloped Lien in its intricate patterns. He moved through the halls with a newfound awareness, his senses attuned to every whispered conversation, every furtive glance. It was during the afternoon meal, a lavish affair held in the grand dining hall, that Lien first noticed the shift. The air was thick with tension, the courtiers' laughter brittle and strained. The emperor sat at the head of the table, his presence a commanding force that held the room in thrall. Yet even he seemed distracted, his gaze distant, as if he too were aware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Lien watched, his senses alert, as courtiers vied for attention, their words a dance of flattery and deceit. Among them was Lord Wei, a noble of considerable influence, his demeanor polished and charming. Yet beneath his genial exterior, Lien sensed something darker, a predatory gleam in his eyes that belied his courteous smile. As the meal progressed, Lien felt the weight of Lord Wei's gaze upon him, a scrutiny that was both unsettling and intriguing. He met the noble's eyes briefly, a flicker of challenge passing between them, before lowering his gaze in a show of deference. The meal concluded with the customary exchange of toasts, the courtiers raising their cups in a ritual of unity and allegiance. Yet, as Lien lifted his cup to his lips, a strange sensation washed over him, a fleeting dizziness, a prickling at the back of his neck. He hesitated, glancing around the table, but found only the usual expressions of feigned interest and polite indifference. Pushing the unease aside, Lien took a sip, the wine's rich flavor mingling with a hint of something unfamiliar. He set the cup down carefully, his mind whirling with possibilities. Poison was a common weapon in the court's arsenal, a silent killer that left no traces. But who would wish him harm, and why? The remainder of the day passed in a haze, the world around him a blur of color and sound. Lien's thoughts were a tangled skein, unraveling into questions that begged for answers. He moved through his duties with a practiced grace, yet beneath his composed exterior, a storm raged, a tempest of fear and determination. As evening descended, casting the palace in a cloak of twilight, Lien found himself in the garden once more. The air was cool and fragrant, the moon a lantern in the velvet sky. He wandered among the blossoms, seeking solace in their beauty, yet even here, the shadows seemed to whisper of danger. In the stillness, a rustle of movement caught his attention. He turned, his heart quickening as the shadowy figure from the night before emerged from the darkness. The man stepped into the moonlight, his face obscured by the hood of his cloak. "Do not fear," the figure said, his voice a low murmur that carried on the breeze. "I mean you no harm." Lien regarded him warily, the memory of the wine's strange taste fresh in his mind. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "A friend," the man replied, lowering his hood to reveal a face lined with experience, eyes sharp and knowing. "Or at least, someone who wishes to be." Lien studied him, searching for any sign of deception. "And why should I trust you?" The man smiled, a fleeting expression that warmed his features. "Because in this world of shadows, we must find allies where we can. There are those who would see you fall, Lien, but there are also those who would see you rise." The words resonated within him, a chord struck in the symphony of his life. Lien nodded slowly, the weight of his decision settling over him like a cloak. In that moment, he understood that the path before him was fraught with peril, yet it was also one of possibility. Together, they spoke in hushed tones, the garden a sanctuary from the world beyond. The man shared tales of intrigue and betrayal, of plots woven in the dark recesses of the court, and of the players who moved unseen across the board. As the night deepened, Lien felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to navigate the treacherous waters of court life with wisdom and grace. He knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with danger, yet he was resolved to face it with courage. And so, beneath the watchful eyes of the moon, Lien stepped into the night, the path before him illuminated by the light of possibilities and the promise of allies yet unknown. The palace, with its secrets and shadows, lay behind him, a silent testament to the world he was leaving and the new one he was about to enter. Lien moved with a quiet grace, the soft rustle of his silk robes barely disturbing the tranquil night air. The moon hung like a luminous pearl in the sky, casting a silvery glow upon the path ahead. Each step he took was deliberate, echoing with the weight of his newfound resolve. The garden, with its fragrant blossoms and whispering leaves, seemed to hold its breath, as if in anticipation of the journey he was about to undertake. The man who had shared the tales of the court's hidden machinations had vanished into the shadows, leaving Lien with a mind alight with questions and a heart filled with determination. The stories of betrayal and intrigue were not just whispers of the past, they were the very threads of the world he had chosen to navigate. Yet, within those threads, Lien sensed the possibility of weaving a tapestry of his own design, one that could alter the course of his life and those around him. As he ventured further from the garden, the palace loomed in the distance, a sprawling maze of corridors and chambers, each holding its own secrets. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine, a reminder of the fleeting beauty that surrounded him. But beneath that beauty lay a current of danger, a reminder that the court was a place where allegiances could shift as swiftly as the wind. Lien's mind drifted back to the words of the man in the garden. He had spoken of the emperor's favor, a double-edged sword that could elevate or destroy. To be favored was to walk a narrow path, where a single misstep could lead to ruin. Yet, there was also power in that favor, a chance to influence the course of events in subtle yet profound ways. The palace was alive with the murmur of voices and the soft glow of lanterns, casting flickering shadows upon the intricately carved walls. Lien moved with a cautious grace, mindful of the eyes that might be watching. He was not alone in his quest. There were others, hidden within the court, who shared his desires and fears. Allies, he hoped, who could help him navigate the treacherous waters that lay ahead. As he made his way through the corridors, he thought of the emperor, a man shrouded in mystery and power. To serve at his pleasure was both an honor and a peril. Lien had seen the way others had risen and fallen, their fates determined by the whims of the court and the emperor's favor. It was a reminder that his own position was precarious, his future as uncertain as the shifting sands of the desert. Yet, there was a fire within him, a burning desire to carve out a place for himself within the court. Lien knew that he could not do it alone. He needed allies, those who shared his vision and his resolve. The man in the garden had hinted at others, individuals who walked the same path, hidden in the shadows, their influence felt but unseen. The palace was a labyrinth of secrets, each turn revealing new challenges and opportunities. Lien's mind was a whirl of thoughts, each one a possibility, a path to be explored. He knew that the journey ahead would require more than courage. It would demand wisdom, patience, and a keen understanding of the court's intricate dance. As he moved through the corridors, he encountered others, their eyes wary and knowing. Some offered nods of recognition, others averted their gaze, unwilling to acknowledge the unspoken truths that connected them. Lien felt a kinship with these others, a shared understanding of the delicate balance they all walked. The night deepened, the palace a world unto itself, its rhythms dictated by the ebb and flow of power. Lien felt the weight of his decision, the path he had chosen, yet he also felt a sense of liberation. For the first time, he was not merely a pawn in the court's game. He was a player, with the ability to shape his own destiny. As he approached his quarters, Lien paused, taking in the silence that surrounded him. The air was cool, the moon's glow casting a gentle light upon the path. He felt a sense of calm, a quiet certainty that he was where he needed to be, that the journey ahead was his to navigate. In the days that followed, Lien immersed himself in the life of the court, observing its players, its intrigues, and its shifting alliances. He learned to read the subtle cues, the glances and whispers that spoke volumes. The court was a stage, and each person played their part, their roles dictated by the delicate balance of power and favor. Lien found himself drawn to those who shared his vision, individuals who understood the complexities of the court and the potential for change. Together, they formed a quiet alliance, a coalition of like-minded souls united by a shared purpose. They met in secret, their conversations hushed and careful, each word chosen with precision. The man from the garden, whom Lien now knew as Wei, became a mentor and a friend, guiding him through the court's labyrinthine politics. Wei was a man of wisdom, his years in the court granting him insights that were invaluable. He taught Lien to see beyond the surface, to understand the motivations that drove those around him. The court was a place of constant flux, its players ever shifting in their allegiances and ambitions. Lien learned to navigate its currents, to anticipate the changes and adapt accordingly. He cultivated relationships, forged alliances, and built a network of support that would prove crucial in the days to come. Yet, even as he maneuvered through the court's complexities, Lien was acutely aware of the dangers that surrounded him. The favor of the emperor was a precarious thing, and rumors of discontent and dissent simmered beneath the surface. There were those who sought to undermine his efforts, to see him fail, their own ambitions driving them to acts of betrayal. Lien knew that he could not afford to be complacent. The court was a place where trust was a rare commodity, and he guarded his secrets closely, sharing them only with those he trusted implicitly. The alliance he had formed was strong, but it was also fragile, dependent on the careful balance of power and loyalty. As the days turned into weeks, Lien's influence within the court grew, his presence felt in subtle yet significant ways. He was no longer just a concubine, a figure to be admired and desired. He was a force to be reckoned with, a man who understood the intricacies of the court and played its game with skill. The challenges were many, the path fraught with peril, yet Lien remained steadfast, his resolve unshaken. He had chosen this path, and he would see it through, guided by the light of possibilities and the promise of a future he had yet to shape. In the quiet moments of the night, beneath the watchful eyes of the moon, Lien would reflect on his journey, the choices he had made, and the path that lay ahead. He knew that the road would not be easy, that the dangers were ever present, but he was determined to face them with courage and grace. For in the world of the court, where shadows danced and secrets whispered, Lien had found his purpose, his place, and the strength to forge a destiny of his own making. As the days unfolded like the delicate petals of a lotus, Lien's influence within the court grew, his presence felt in subtle yet significant ways. He was no longer just a concubine, a figure to be admired and desired. He was a force to be reckoned with, a man who understood the intricacies of the court and played its game with skill. His journey had been long, the path fraught with peril, yet Lien remained steadfast, his resolve unshaken. He had chosen this path, and he would see it through, guided by the light of possibilities and the promise of a future he had yet to shape. In the quiet moments of the night, beneath the watchful eyes of the moon, Lien would reflect on his journey, the choices he had made, and the path that lay ahead. He knew that the road would not be easy, that the dangers were ever present, but he was determined to face them with courage and grace. For in the world of the court, where shadows danced and secrets whispered, Lien had found his purpose, his place, and the strength to forge a destiny of his own making. But the court was a living organism, with its own pulse and rhythm, and Lien was but a single thread in the intricate tapestry of its existence. Each day brought new challenges, new players, and new alliances, and Lien was ever watchful, his senses attuned to the subtle shifts in the air. There were those who saw his rise with envy, their eyes cold and calculating as they plotted in the shadows. Whispers of discontent floated through the corridors, and Lien knew that he had to tread carefully, for the ground beneath his feet was as unstable as the surface of a frozen lake in early spring. Yet, amidst the looming threats, there were also moments of unexpected beauty and connection. Lien had formed a bond with Mei, a fellow concubine whose gentle wisdom and hidden strength were a balm to his weary spirit. Together, they navigated the treacherous waters of court life, their shared laughter and whispered confidences a testament to the power of friendship. Mei had her own battles to fight, her own scars to bear, yet she remained a steadfast ally, her presence a reminder that even in the most perilous of places, kindness could flourish like wildflowers in a forgotten meadow. One evening, as the moon hung heavy in the sky, casting its silvery glow over the palace, Mei and Lien found themselves in the tranquil haven of the imperial gardens. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine, and the gentle murmur of a nearby stream provided a soothing backdrop to their quiet conversation. Mei began softly, her eyes reflecting the softness of the moonlight. "You have come so far, yet I worry for your safety. The court is not a place of mercy." Lien nodded, his gaze drifting over the delicate blossoms that surrounded them. "I know, Mei, but I cannot turn back now. There is too much at stake." Mei reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm in a gesture of solidarity. "Promise me you will be careful. Promise me you will not lose yourself in this place." A faint smile tugged at Lien's lips. "I promise, Mei, I will not forget who I am." Their shared moment of understanding was interrupted by the soft rustle of fabric, a figure emerging from the shadows of the garden. It was a messenger from the Emperor, his presence a harbinger of yet another twist in the tale. "The Emperor wishes to see you, Lien," the messenger intoned, his voice devoid of emotion. With a nod, Lien rose to his feet, a sense of inevitability settling over him. The Emperor's summons were not to be ignored, and Lien knew that this meeting could change the course of his life in ways he could not yet imagine. The path to the Emperor's chambers was like a journey through a dream, the corridors dimly lit by flickering lanterns that cast dancing shadows on the walls. Lien's heart beat a steady rhythm, a reminder of his humanity amidst the grandeur of his surroundings. As he entered the Emperor's chambers, a hushed silence enveloped him, the air heavy with the weight of unspoken words. The Emperor was seated on a low platform, his presence commanding and regal, yet there was a softness in his gaze that spoke of a deeper understanding. "Lien," the Emperor began, his voice smooth as silk, "you have proven yourself to be a man of great resourcefulness and insight. I have watched your journey closely." Lien inclined his head, acknowledging the Emperor's words. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your attention." The Emperor's gaze was penetrating, as if he could see beyond the surface, into the depths of Lien's soul. "There are those who would see you fail, who would seek to undermine your position. But I believe you have the strength to overcome them." Lian's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and trepidation. "I will not falter, Your Majesty. I am committed to serving the court with loyalty and integrity." The emperor's expression softened, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "I have a task for you, Lian. A mission that requires both discretion and courage. Will you accept it?" Lian felt the weight of the emperor's words, the gravity of the decision before him. Yet, within him, there was a fire that burned bright, a determination to rise above the challenges, to shape his own destiny. "I will accept the task, Your Majesty," Lian replied, his voice steady and resolute. The emperor nodded, a look of approval in his eyes. "Very well, you shall learn more in due time. For now, rest and prepare yourself." With a final bow, Lian took his leave, the emperor's words echoing in his mind. As he walked back through the corridors of the palace, a sense of purpose filled him, a conviction that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in his life. The night air was cool against his skin as Lian returned to the gardens, where Mei awaited him with a knowing look in her eyes. "What did the emperor say?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Lian smiled, his heart light with the promise of the future. "He has given me a task, Mei. A challenge that I must face." Mei's eyes shone with pride and a touch of concern. "Then you must be careful, Lian. But I have no doubt that you will rise to the occasion." Together, they sat beneath the stars, the world around them a tapestry of dreams and possibilities. Lian knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he also knew that he was not alone. With Mei by his side, and the strength of his own resolve, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky in hues of gold and pink, Lian felt a sense of anticipation, a thrill of the unknown. His journey was far from over, and the pages of his story were still being written. And in the heart of the ancient palace, amidst the whispers of the past and the hopes of the future, Lian stood poised to carve out a destiny of his own making. The morning air was crisp, carrying with it the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant calls of birds awakening to a new day. Lian stood at the threshold of the inner courtyard, the ancient stones cool beneath his feet, the palace a silent witness to his thoughts and dreams. The emperor's task weighed on his mind, a challenge that was as much a test of his spirit as it was of his loyalty. Yet, beneath the weight of expectation, there was a flicker of excitement, a spark that urged him forward. The task was simple in its wording, yet complex in its execution. The emperor had asked for a gift, a token that would symbolize both the depth of Lian's devotion and the ingenuity of his mind. It was to be something unique, something that would stand as a testament to Lian's understanding of the emperor's heart. A task that required not only creativity but also an acute awareness of the delicate balance of power within the palace walls. As Lian pondered over the possibilities, the palace around him buzzed with its usual rhythm. Servants moved with purpose, their whispers and footsteps blending into the symphony of daily life. The concubines, each with their own tales and secrets, drifted through the corridors, their silken robes a cascade of colors and textures. Lian was one among many, yet his journey had set him apart, a path illuminated by the emperor's attention and the whispers of destiny. His thoughts turned to Mei, her presence a comforting balm amidst the uncertainty. In her eyes, he found understanding, a mirror of his own hopes and fears. Their bond, delicate yet resilient, was a sanctuary where he could lay bare his soul. It was she who had reminded him of the power of simplicity, of the beauty in the unnoticed and the overlooked. And it was her wisdom that guided his hand as he began to sketch the contours of his offering. Lian's mind drifted to the stories of old, to the legends of emperors and their favored ones, each tale woven with threads of intrigue and passion. He thought of the gardens that sprawled beyond the palace walls, a paradise where nature's artistry unfolded with every season. There, amidst the blooms and the whispers of the wind, lay the key to his creation. With renewed purpose, Lian sought the counsel of the master gardener, an elder whose hands had tended the imperial gardens for decades. The gardener's eyes, sharp and knowing, regarded Lien with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "What you seek is not found in the grandeur of the rare," he said, his voice as weathered as the stones beneath their feet, but in the harmony of the humble. The words resonated within Lien, a revelation that shifted his perspective. He spent hours amidst the blossoms and leaves, his senses enveloped in the fragrance and colors of life itself. He observed the bees, industrious and diligent, their dance a testament to the cycles of nature. He watched the koi swim lazily in the ponds, their scales shimmering like liquid jewels beneath the sun's caress. It was in these simple moments that he found inspiration, a clarity that transcended the complexity of his task. Over the following days, Lien worked tirelessly, his hands a blur of activity as he crafted his gift. Each element was chosen with care, each piece a symbol imbued with meaning. The task consumed him utterly, leaving no room for doubt or hesitation. And yet, amidst the flurry of activity, there lingered a whisper of uncertainty, a shadow that taunted him with the possibility of failure. In the quiet hours of the night, when the palace was cloaked in shadows and the world was hushed, Lien would find himself standing by the moonlit window, the weight of his endeavor heavy upon his shoulders. It was in these solitary moments that the specter of doubt loomed largest, a reminder of the precariousness of his position. The palace was a place of power and privilege, but also of whispers and intrigue, where fortunes could change with the whims of fate. Yet, Lien's determination burned brighter than his fears, a beacon that guided him through the darkness. Each dawn brought with it a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that his journey was one of choice and courage. He was not merely a pawn in a game of power, he was a player in his own right, an architect of his destiny. As the day of presentation loomed closer, the palace seemed to hold its breath, the air charged with anticipation. Lien's fellow concubines, each with their own aspirations and desires, watched him with a mixture of curiosity and envy. The emperor's favor was a prize coveted by many, a path to influence and honor. Yet, for Lien, it was more than that. It was an opportunity to transcend the confines of his role, to leave a mark upon the world that was uniquely his own. On the eve of the presentation, Lien sought solace in the garden, the moon casting a silver glow over the landscape. May joined him there, her presence a balm to his restless spirit. They walked in silence, the world around them a symphony of night sounds, the rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl. It was a moment of peace, a respite from the storm of emotions that churned within him. "You are ready," May said softly, her voice a gentle caress in the darkness. "Whatever happens, know that you have already succeeded." Her words were a balm, soothing the tumult within his heart. In her eyes, he saw not just belief, but a reflection of his own strength and resolve. It was a reminder that he was not alone, that his journey was shared with those who cared for him. The day of the presentation dawned bright and clear, the palace bathed in the golden light of morning. Lien stood before the emperor, his heart a steady drumbeat in his chest. The room was filled with courtiers and concubines, their eyes fixed upon him, each breath held in anticipation. With a deep breath, Lien unveiled his creation, a delicate arrangement of blossoms and stones, a miniature garden that captured the essence of the world he had come to know. Each element was chosen with care, each piece a symbol of harmony and balance. It was a reflection of his journey, a testament to the lessons he had learned and the truths he had discovered. The emperor regarded the offering with a thoughtful gaze, his expression inscrutable. The silence stretched on, a moment suspended in time, as the weight of Lien's offering hung in the air. Yet, in that silence, Lien found a sense of peace, a calm that transcended the uncertainty of the moment. Finally, the emperor spoke, his voice resonant and measured. "You have captured the essence of simplicity, Lien. In this, you have shown not only creativity but wisdom. It is a gift worthy of remembrance." The words were a benediction, a seal upon the bond that had been forged between them. In that moment, Lien realized that the journey was not just about the destination, but about the path itself, the choices made, the lessons learned, and the strength found within. As the palace resumed its rhythm, the whispers of intrigue and ambition weaving through the corridors once more, Lien stood amidst it all, a figure poised between the past and the future. The road ahead was still uncertain, fraught with challenges and possibilities. But now, with the strength of his resolve and the companionship of those who believed in him, he was ready to embrace whatever lay beyond the horizon, crafting a destiny of his own making in the heart of ancient China. The night unfurled its velvet shroud over the forbidden city, the stars shimmering like distant lanterns in the ink-black sky. The moon, full and luminous, bathed the palace in a silvery glow, casting long shadows that danced across the intricately carved wood and stone. Lien stood on the veranda of his quarters, feeling the cool breeze whisper secrets through the silk of his robes. The emperor's words still resonated in his mind, a melody of acknowledgement and promise that threaded through the fabric of his thoughts. In the distance, the soft strains of a guqin floated through the air, its melancholic notes weaving a tapestry of sound that seemed to cradle the night itself. It was a song of longing and remembrance, echoing the hidden desires and dreams of those who lived behind the palace walls. Lien closed his eyes, letting the music seep into his soul, every note a reminder of the life he had chosen, and the path that lay before him. Yet, beneath the tranquil facade of the night, the palace was alive with its own heartbeat. The courtiers and concubines moved like pieces on a chessboard, their alliances and rivalries shifting with every breath. Lien was acutely aware of the undercurrents that swirled around him, the whispers that spoke of power and ambition, of secrets that could topple dynasties. He had become a part of this intricate dance, a player in a game that was as ancient as the stones that made up the palace itself. As the music faded into silence, Lien turned his gaze towards the gardens, their beauty a refuge in a world fraught with uncertainty. The peonies were in bloom, their vibrant petals a riot of color against the night. He remembered the emperor's words, the praise that had been so unexpectedly bestowed upon him, and felt a stirring of hope. Perhaps, in this world where dreams were often crushed beneath the weight of duty and expectation, there was still room for beauty, for creation, and for love. But even as he reveled in this moment, Lien knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The palace was a place where shadows lurked at the edges of every smile, and danger could strike as swiftly as a hawk swooping upon its prey. He had seen it in the eyes of those who watched him, their gazes sharp and assessing, waiting for a misstep that could be used against him. Trust was a rare commodity here, a fragile thing that could be shattered with a single word or gesture. With a sigh, he turned away from the gardens and stepped back into his chambers. The room was dimly lit, the flickering candlelight casting a warm glow that softened the edges of reality. He moved to the low table where a scroll lay unfurled, the ink still fresh from his writing earlier that day. It was a poem, a reflection of the thoughts and emotions that had churned within him since his encounter with the emperor. Lien ran his fingers lightly over the characters, feeling the texture of the paper beneath his fingertips. The words spoke of the dual nature of life in the palace, the beauty and the peril, the joy and the sorrow. It was a world of contrasts, where each moment of happiness was tempered by the threat of loss, and every friendship was shadowed by the specter of betrayal. Yet, in spite of this, or perhaps because of it, Lien felt a sense of purpose. He had been given a gift, a chance to create something lasting and meaningful in a place where so much was ephemeral. It was a challenge, one that required courage and vision, but it was also an opportunity to transcend the limits that had been placed upon him. As he pondered the path that lay before him, a soft knock came at the door. Lien rose and crossed the room, opening the door to reveal Mei, her eyes alight with an excitement that belied the late hour. "Lien," she whispered, stepping inside and closing the door behind her. "I have news." Her words were a spark in the darkness, igniting a flicker of curiosity within him. "What is it, Mei?" She glanced around, as if to ensure they were truly alone, before speaking. "There is talk among the servants. A rumor that something is amiss in the emperor's court. They say that a plot is brewing, one that could change the course of the dynasty." Lien felt a chill run down his spine, the weight of her words pressing upon him like a tangible thing. A plot? Against the Emperor? Mei nodded, her expression grave. Yes, but the details are scarce. All I know is that it involves someone close to the throne, someone with much to gain and even more to lose. For a moment, Lien's mind raced, considering the possibilities, the faces of those who might be involved flashing through his thoughts. The palace was a web of intrigue, and he knew that even the smallest ripple could have far-reaching consequences. What should we do? Mei's voice was barely a whisper, her eyes wide with concern. Lien took a deep breath, his resolve hardening like steel. We must tread carefully, Mei. This is a dangerous game, one that requires patience and vigilance. We cannot act without knowing more. She nodded, trusting his judgment, and for a moment they stood together in silence, the weight of their shared knowledge binding them in an unspoken pact. We will watch and wait, Lien said finally, his voice steady. And when the time is right, we will act. As Mei slipped back into the shadows, leaving him alone with his thoughts, Lien felt a sense of determination settle over him. The challenges ahead were daunting, but he was not alone. He had allies, friends who believed in him, and a purpose that gave him strength. The night deepened, the stars wheeling overhead in their eternal dance. Lien returned to the veranda, his heart a steady drumbeat that resonated with the pulse of the universe. He gazed up at the moon, its light a beacon of hope in the darkness, and knew that whatever lay ahead, he would face it with courage and grace. For in the heart of ancient China, amidst the splendor and peril of the palace, he was crafting a destiny of his own making, a tale of resilience and redemption that would echo through the corridors of time. The path was long and winding, but he was ready to walk it, step by step, towards a future that was his to shape. As the silver moon cast its ethereal glow over the palace rooftops, Lien drew a deep breath, filling his lungs with the cool night air. It was a moment of stillness, a brief pause before the unfolding of the next chapter in his life's intricate narrative. The palace, with its sprawling gardens and winding corridors, seemed to breathe with him, a living entity of secrets and whispered dreams. Lien's thoughts drifted to the intricate web of alliances he had begun to weave. Mei, with her quiet strength and unyielding loyalty, had become an indispensable ally. Her knowledge of the palace's inner workings, its hidden nooks and shadowy recesses, was a treasure trove that Lien had only begun to explore. Together, they were piecing together a plan, a tapestry of hope and defiance that would, with time and patience, unfurl into something beautiful and profound. Yet, beneath the surface of his resolve, a current of unease lingered. The palace was a place of splendor and beauty, but also of danger and deceit. Each day, Lien walked a tightrope, balancing on the fine line between survival and ruin. The Emperor's whims were unpredictable, a tempest that could change direction with the slightest provocation. Lien had learned to read the subtle shifts in the court's atmosphere, the murmurs of gossip that floated like tendrils of smoke through the halls. One such whisper had reached his ears earlier that day. A new concubine had arrived, a man of striking beauty and rumored wit. His presence was said to have captivated the Emperor, a fact that sent ripples of tension through the existing hierarchy. Lien knew such disruptions could be both opportunity and threat. The arrival of a new favorite could shift the balance of power, creating fissures that might be exploited or pitfalls that could ensnare the unwary. As he pondered these developments, Lien's gaze fell upon the distant silhouette of the Emperor's quarters, bathed in the gentle glow of lantern light. He imagined the new concubine's face, the expression of uncertainty and ambition that would undoubtedly play across it. For a moment, Lien felt a pang of empathy. He, too, had once been the newcomer, thrust into a world of opulence and intrigue, forced to find his footing on unstable ground. The wind stirred, rustling the leaves of the ancient banyan tree that stood as a silent sentinel in the garden below. Lien closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the night envelop him. He could almost hear the whispers of those who had walked this path before him, echoes of lives intertwined with the palace's history. These walls had witnessed countless stories of love, betrayal, and sacrifice. What would they say of his journey, he wondered. With a sense of renewed purpose, Lien turned away from the veranda and made his way back inside. The soft glow of lanterns guided him through the corridors, their flickering light casting long shadows that danced along the walls. He moved with the quiet grace of one accustomed to traversing the palace's labyrinthine passages, each step a deliberate act of defiance against the uncertainty that loomed ahead. As he entered his chamber, the familiar scent of sandalwood greeted him, a comforting balm against the night's chill. Lien crossed to his writing desk, where an array of scrolls lay unfurled. Here, amidst the ink and parchment, was where he crafted his strategies, weaving threads of possibility into a tapestry of rebellion. He picked up a brush, dipping it into the inkstone with practiced ease, and began to write. His characters flowed across the page, elegant strokes that carried the weight of his hopes and fears. Each word was a promise, a vow to himself and those who depended on him. For Lien was not merely a concubine, he was a catalyst, a force that could change the course of destiny itself. He wrote of freedom and justice, of a world where love was not bartered or constrained by the whims of power. As the night wore on, Lien lost himself in the rhythm of his task, the steady scratching of the brush against paper a soothing counterpoint to the tumult of his thoughts. Outside, the world continued its silent vigil, the stars blazing a trail across the velvet sky. Time slipped away, unnoticed, until the soft glow of dawn began to creep through the windows, painting the room in shades of rose and gold. The new day brought with it a sense of renewal, a reminder that each sunrise was an opportunity to forge ahead. Lien set down his brush, surveying his work with a critical eye. The words he had written were not merely ink on paper. They were the seeds of change, waiting to take root in fertile ground. Satisfied, he rose and stretched, feeling the weariness of the night's labors melt away. He stepped onto the balcony, where the early morning light bathed the garden in a soft, golden hue. The palace stirred to life around him, the sounds of servants beginning their daily routines mingling with the birdsong that filled the air. Lien took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility of the moment. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, he felt a sense of calm, a certainty that he was on the right path. As he stood there, a figure emerged from the shadows of the garden, moving with the stealth and grace of a feline. It was May, her presence as welcome as the dawn itself. She approached, her expression one of quiet determination, and Lien felt a surge of gratitude for her unwavering support. Lien, May greeted him, her voice a soft murmur against the morning breeze. I have news. The new concubine you heard of. His name is Jian, and he has asked to meet with you. Lien's heart skipped a beat, curiosity and caution warring within him. What could this newcomer want? The possibilities were as numerous as the stars in the night sky. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, Lien sensed an opportunity, a chance to form a new alliance, to strengthen the network of trust he was carefully building. Very well, Lien replied, his voice steady. Arrange the meeting. We shall see what Jian has to say. May nodded, a faint smile playing on her lips. I will make the arrangements. Be careful, Lien. The palace is a place of shifting sands. I know, Lien said softly, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun began its ascent. But I am ready. As May departed to set their plan in motion, Lien remained on the balcony, his thoughts a tapestry of hope and resolve. The path before him was fraught with peril and possibility, yet he felt a sense of peace, a conviction that he was exactly where he needed to be. For in the heart of ancient China, amidst the splendor and danger of the palace, Lien was not just surviving, he was forging a new destiny, one step at a time. The days that followed were a blend of anticipation and caution, a delicate dance that Lien had come to know intimately. In the palace, where whispers traveled faster than the wind, and alliances shifted like the sands of the desert, every step he took was measured, every word he spoke carefully weighed. The meeting with Jian loomed ahead, a beacon of both hope and uncertainty. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the courtyard in shades of amber and crimson, Lien prepared himself. The evening air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, its sweetness mingling with the earthy undertones of the palace gardens. It was a tranquil moment, yet beneath the serenity, a current of tension lingered. Lien donned a robe of the finest silk, its deep blue fabric shimmering like a midnight sky. The garment had been a gift from a patron long forgotten, yet its significance remained, a reminder of the past, of battles fought and won through wit and charm. He smoothed the fabric, allowing its coolness to ground him, to remind him of the strength he carried within. The path to the designated meeting place wound through the heart of the palace, past intricate tapestries depicting tales of legendary heroes and mythical beasts. Lien moved with purpose, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished stone floors. The corridors were dimly lit, the flickering torchlight casting dancing shadows that seemed to follow him, silent specters of his unspoken fears. Reaching the secluded pavilion at the edge of the gardens, Lien paused. The structure was an oasis of calm, its wooden beams entwined with delicate wisteria, their lavender blossoms cascading like waterfalls in the gentle breeze. Here, beneath the watchful gaze of the moon, he would meet Jian, a man whose reputation was as enigmatic as the mist-shrouded mountains. Lien entered the pavilion, his senses attuned to the world around him. The night was alive with the symphony of crickets, their rhythmic chorus a backdrop to the stillness. In the center of the pavilion, a low table had been set, adorned with an array of delicacies that spoke of careful preparation and intent. Jian arrived moments later, his presence as fluid as water, his eyes as dark and fathomless as the deepest well. He moved with a grace that belied his power, a reminder of the duality that defined life within the palace walls. Lien inclined his head in greeting, acknowledging the man who could be both an ally and a rival. "Lien," Jian said, his voice smooth as silk, "I am pleased you accepted my invitation." "The pleasure is mine, Jian," Lien replied, taking his seat opposite the other man. "Your summons intrigued me," Jian smiled, a fleeting expression that hinted at secrets untold. "I trust you found the journey here uneventful?" Lien nodded, the corners of his mouth curving in a subtle smile. "The palace is a maze, but I have traversed it many times." "Indeed," Jian murmured, his gaze lingering on Lien, as if assessing the depths of his resolve. "We are all travelers in this world, seeking our paths amidst the shadows." Their conversation unfolded like a game of Wakey, each statement a strategic move, each silence a calculated pause. Jian spoke of the emperor's growing interest in expanding the empire's influence, of whispers of rebellion in the outer provinces, and of the delicate balance of power within the court. His words painted a picture of a kingdom teetering on the edge of transformation, a realm where the right alliances could shape the future. Lien listened intently, his mind weaving the threads of possibility. Jian's insights were invaluable, a tapestry of knowledge that could fortify Lien's own position. Yet, as the conversation deepened, Lien sensed an undercurrent, a hint of vulnerability that Jian carefully concealed beneath his composed exterior. "What is it you seek, Jian?" Lien asked finally, his voice gentle yet probing. "In this ever-shifting landscape, what is your desire?" Jian's eyes met Lien's, and for a moment, the mask of inscrutability slipped. "I seek stability, Lien. In a world where the winds of change are relentless, I long for a place where I can stand firm." Lien nodded, understanding the unspoken longing. In the palace, where power was both a blessing and a curse, the quest for stability was a common thread that bound them all. "Perhaps we can help one another," Lien suggested, his tone inviting yet cautious. "Perhaps," Jian agreed, a hint of warmth in his voice. "But trust is a rare commodity, is it not?" "It is," Lien acknowledged, his gaze steady. "Yet, it is something we can cultivate, if we choose." The night deepened, the moon casting its silvery glow over the pavilion, as Lien and Jian continued their dialogue. A dance of words that held the promise of alliance, the potential for a future shaped by mutual understanding. In that moment, Lien felt the weight of the past lift slightly, replaced by a fragile hope that whispered of new beginnings. As the final notes of their conversation faded into the night, Lien rose to leave, feeling the cool embrace of the night air wrap around him. Jian walked with him to the edge of the pavilion, a silent companion in the shadows. "Until we meet again, Lien," Jian said, a promise lingering in his voice. "Until then," Lien replied, his heart buoyed by the possibility of what lay ahead. As Lien retraced his steps through the garden, the path illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The palace, with its labyrinth and intrigue and endless challenges, was a world unto itself. A world where Lien was determined not only to survive but to thrive. In the distance, the first light of dawn began to tint the horizon with hues of gold and rose, a reminder that each day was a new chapter, a new opportunity to shape his destiny. And as Lien stepped into the embrace of the morning, he knew that, though the path was fraught with danger and uncertainty, it was a journey he was ready to face. One step at a time, one alliance at a time, in the heart of ancient China. The palace was awakening, its vast expanse stirring with the quiet hustle of servants beginning their daily routines. The gentle clatter of porcelain teacups, the soft rustle of silk robes brushing against polished wooden floors, and the distant murmur of voices created a symphony of life that filled the corridors. Lien walked through these halls, his senses attuned to every sound, every shift in the atmosphere, as if each nuance held a secret waiting to be unraveled. He had learned, in his time within these walls, that knowledge was power. Every whispered conversation, every fleeting glance exchanged between courtiers, was a thread in the intricate tapestry of palace life. Lien had become adept at weaving these threads into a fabric of understanding, a skill that served him well in navigating the complexities of his environment. As he made his way towards the quarters assigned to the concubines, Lien's thoughts drifted back to Jian. Their clandestine meetings had become a source of both solace and strength, a rare bond in a world where trust was a precious commodity. Their conversations, often held in whispered tones beneath the cover of night, were a dance of words and meanings, each exchange deepening the connection between them. Yet, as comforting as Jian's presence was, Lien knew that he could not rely solely on this alliance. The palace was a place where allegiances shifted like sand in the wind, and the balance of power was as delicate as the petals of the lotus blossoms that floated in the palace ponds. Lien had to be vigilant, always aware of the undercurrents that swirled around him. The courtyard of the concubines was a place of beauty and restraint, a garden where nature was tamed and sculpted to reflect the emperor's desire for order and harmony. Lien paused to admire the delicate artistry of the flowering shrubs and the gentle trickle of water from a nearby fountain. It was a serene setting, yet beneath its tranquil surface lay the tension of unspoken rivalries and ambitions. As he entered the courtyard, Lien noticed a cluster of concubines gathered near a pavilion, their laughter a bright note against the morning air. Among them was Mei, her presence as radiant as the first blossoms of spring. Her eyes met Lien's and she beckoned him over with a graceful wave of her hand. "Lien," she greeted him warmly, her voice carrying the melody of 1,000 unspoken thoughts. "Join us. We were just discussing the latest performance in the court theater." Lien smiled, accepting her invitation with a nod. Mei had always been kind to him, a gentle guide in this world of hidden agendas. Her friendship was a light in the shadows, a reminder that not all alliances were forged in deceit. As they spoke of the play, a tale of love and betrayal set in a distant province, Lien felt a sense of ease settle over him. The conversation flowed like a river, carrying away the weight of his concerns, if only for a moment. Yet, even in this semblance of peace, Lien's mind remained alert, ever watchful for signs of change. The theater, with its elaborate costumes and dramatic narratives, was a reflection of court life itself, a stage upon which the players donned their roles, concealing their true intentions behind masks of civility. Lien understood this all too well, for he too was an actor in this grand production, his survival dependent on his ability to navigate the shifting tides of favor and fortune. As the conversation continued, Lian's thoughts turned to the emperor. The ruler of this vast empire, whose whims dictated the fates of those within his court, was a man of inscrutable desires and unpredictable moods. Lian had seen the consequences of displeasing the emperor, and he knew that to maintain his position, he must remain ever vigilant, ever adaptable. The morning wore on, the sun climbing higher in the sky, casting its golden light upon the courtyard. Lian excused himself from the gathering, his mind already turning to the tasks that lay ahead. He had much to do, much to learn, if he was to secure his place in this ever-changing world. As he made his way back through the palace, Lian paused at a window overlooking the gardens. The sight of the blossoms, their vibrant hues a testament to the beauty and fragility of life, filled him with a sense of purpose. He was determined to carve out a place for himself here, to rise above the challenges and claim his destiny. Yet, as he stood there, a shadow passed over his heart, a whisper of doubt, a flicker of fear. The path he had chosen was fraught with peril, the stakes higher than he had ever imagined. But Lian was no stranger to adversity. He had faced trials before, and he would face them again, armed with the knowledge and resolve that had brought him this far. The day unfolded with a rhythm of its own, the hours slipping by in a dance of duties and encounters. Lian moved through the palace with a grace born of necessity, his every action calculated, his every word measured. He was a master of adaptation, a chameleon blending seamlessly into his surroundings. As evening approached, the sky painted in shades of twilight, Lian found himself in the company of the emperor. It was a rare audience, a moment of opportunity that he could not afford to squander. The emperor, seated upon a throne of carved jade, regarded Lian with an expression of inscrutable intent. "Lian," the emperor intoned, his voice a resonant echo within the chamber. "I have heard much of your talents. Tell me, what do you see as your place in my court?" The question hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation. Lian met the emperor's gaze, his mind racing with possibilities. Here, in this moment, his fate balanced on the edge of a blade. Yet, fear was a luxury he could not afford. Instead, he spoke with a calm born of conviction. "Your Majesty," Lian replied, his voice steady and clear, "I see my place as one of service and loyalty. To offer my skills, my insight, to further your vision for the empire. It is my honor to serve and to learn, to grow in your esteemed presence." The emperor regarded him for a long moment, the silence stretching like a taut string. Then, a smile curved the emperor's lips, a gesture of approval that sent a ripple of relief through Lian's heart. "Very well," the emperor said, his tone one of satisfaction. "We shall see what future holds for you, Lian." As Lian bowed and took his leave, he felt the weight of the encounter settle upon him like a cloak. He had navigated this meeting with the skill of a seasoned diplomat, yet he knew that the path ahead remained uncertain. Each step would require careful consideration, each decision a potential turning point in his journey. The moon rose high above the palace, casting its silver light over the ancient stones. Lian stood beneath its glow, the cool night air a balm to his weary spirit. He was a player in a game without rules, where the stakes were life and legacy. But in the quiet stillness of the night, he found comfort in the knowledge that he was not alone. For even amidst the intrigue and danger, the alliances and betrayals, Lian had discovered a truth that guided him, a truth that lay in the bonds he forged, in the strength of his resolve, and in the courage of his heart. And with each passing day, he drew closer to the destiny that awaited him, in the heart of ancient China. Lian's footsteps echoed softly against the cobblestone paths of the palace grounds, each step a gentle whisper in the tranquil night. The shadows danced around him, cast by the flickering lanterns that lined the corridors, their amber glow a warm contrast to the silvery luminescence of the moon. He moved with the grace of a man accustomed to the delicate balance of power and vulnerability, aware that every gesture, every word could tip the scales of his fate. As he walked, the memories of the evening's encounter played through his mind like a haunting melody, each note resonating with the unspoken tension that had filled the room. The eunuch's words had been a web of veiled threats and hidden promises, a reminder of the precariousness of his position within the palace. Yet, Lien knew that his survival depended not just on navigating these dangerous waters, but on mastering them. The gardens lay ahead, a sanctuary of serenity amidst the tumult of court life. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming jasmine, a fragrance that seemed to seep into his very soul, calming the storm that raged within. Lien paused beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient willow, its leaves whispering secrets of the past in the gentle breeze. Here, surrounded by nature's timeless beauty, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. His thoughts drifted to the other concubines, each one a participant in this intricate dance of power and desire. There was May, with her haunting eyes and a voice that could soothe even the most troubled heart. She had confided in Lien once, her words a revelation of the loneliness that lay beneath her regal facade. And then there was Zhao, whose laughter could light up the darkest of days, yet whose spirit was shackled by the chains of duty and expectation. In this world of silken robes and whispered alliances, Lien had learned that strength lay not in isolation, but in connection. The bonds he had forged with these men and women were his lifeline, a network of trust and loyalty that transcended the superficiality of courtly titles. Together, they were architects of their fate, weaving a tapestry of resilience and hope amidst the shadows of the past. As he stood in contemplation, the sound of approaching footsteps drew Lien from his reverie. He turned to see May emerging from the shadows, her presence a welcome balm to his weary spirit. Her eyes met his, and in that silent exchange, 1,000 words passed between them, words of solidarity, of shared struggle, and of unyielding resolve. Lien, she whispered, her voice a soft caress in the night. I feared you might not return. I always return, he replied with a gentle smile, the warmth of his affection evident in his gaze. The moon guides me back to where I belong. May nodded, her expression a mixture of relief and determination. There are whispers, Lien, whispers of change and upheaval. The court grows restless, and the emperor's favor is a fickle thing. Lien sighed, the weight of her words settling heavily upon his shoulders. He had sensed the undercurrents of unrest, the subtle shifts in power that threatened to destabilize the fragile equilibrium of their world. We must tread carefully, May. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but we are not without allies. Together, they walked through the garden, their footsteps a quiet symphony in the night. They spoke of their hopes and fears, of the dreams that sustained them and the challenges that lay ahead. And as they shared their burdens, Lien felt the strength of their bond grow, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The night deepened, the stars a glittering tapestry above them, each one a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of the universe. Lien felt a sense of peace settle over him, a quiet assurance that he was not alone in this journey. With May by his side, and the bonds of friendship and loyalty that connected him to the other concubines, he knew that they could weather any storm. As they returned to the palace, the first light of dawn began to paint the horizon in hues of gold and rose. The world was awakening, the promise of a new day unfurling like a delicate blossom. Lien paused at the threshold, his heart swelling with the determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For in the heart of ancient China, amidst the whispers of intrigue and the echoes of history, Lien had discovered a truth that transcended the confines of the palace walls. A truth that lay in the strength of his spirit, in the courage of his convictions, and in the unbreakable bonds that bound him to those he loved. And as the sun rose, casting its golden light over the palace, Lien stepped forward, ready to embrace the destiny that awaited him. With each step, he carried with him the hopes and dreams of those who had come before, and the promise of a brighter future for those who would follow. As the dawn's gentle light cascaded over the palace, the air was filled with a symphony of awakening life. The chirping of birds, the rustle of leaves, and the distant murmur of a rising city. Lien stood for a moment longer at the threshold, his face illuminated by the soft glow of morning. He inhaled deeply, letting the fresh air fill him with a sense of renewed purpose. Inside the palace, the corridors were beginning to stir with life. Servants moved with practiced grace, their footsteps echoing softly against the polished floors as they prepared for the day's demands. Lian's presence was acknowledged with nods and respectful glances, a silent acknowledgement of the night's events and his newfound resolve. He made his way through the labyrinthine halls, each step echoing with the weight of history and tradition. The palace was a world of its own, a place where power and beauty intertwined, where every corner held secrets and every shadow whispered stories of the past. Lian felt the enormity of it all, but he also felt something else, a quiet confidence that had taken root within him. His destination was the garden, a secluded haven where he often sought solace. As he stepped into the open air, the scent of blooming jasmine enveloped him, delicate and intoxicating. The garden was a tapestry of color and fragrance, a serene oasis amidst the grandeur of the palace. Here, the world seemed to pause, offering a moment of peace amidst the swirling currents of palace life. Lian found his usual spot beneath an ancient willow, its branches swaying gently in the morning breeze. He settled onto the grass, the earth cool and comforting beneath him. In this tranquil setting, he could hear the soft trickle of a nearby stream, its melody a soothing balm to his weary soul. As he closed his eyes, he allowed his thoughts to drift, carried away on the gentle currents of memory. Faces and voices floated through his mind, the warm laughter of his fellow concubines, the stern yet kind eyes of the eunuchs who had guided him, the fleeting glimpses of the emperor who held their fates in his hands. Each memory was a thread in the intricate tapestry of his life, weaving together moments of joy, sorrow, and resilience. Yet, amidst these memories, a shadow lingered, an unresolved tension that tugged at the edges of his consciousness. It was the promise he had made to himself, to find a way to bring about change, to give voice to those who had none. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but Lian knew that he could not turn back. He had come too far, and the stakes were too high. Suddenly, a rustle in the underbrush drew his attention. He opened his eyes to see a small figure emerge from the shadows, a young boy, perhaps no older than 10, with eyes wide and curious. The boy hesitated, clearly torn between the desire to approach and the instinct to flee. Lian smiled gently, motioning for the boy to come closer. "Do not be afraid," he said softly, his voice as soothing as the morning breeze. "You are welcome here." The boy approached tentatively, his steps tentative and unsure. "I am sorry to disturb you, my lord," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. I was just curious." Lian chuckled softly, his heart warmed by the boy's earnestness. "Curiosity is a gift," he replied, "one that should be nurtured, not stifled." The boy nodded, his eyes alight with a newfound confidence. "I often come here to listen to the stream," he confessed, glancing toward the gentle flow of water. "It tells stories, if you know how to listen." Lian regarded the boy with newfound respect, recognizing a kindred spirit. "Then we are alike, you and I," he said. "For I, too, find solace in the stories that nature tells." The boy smiled, his face brightening like the sun breaking through the clouds. Together, they sat in companionable silence, listening to the symphony of the garden, the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the babbling stream. In that moment, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the pure, unadulterated joy of being alive. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its golden light over the garden, Lian felt a renewed sense of purpose. The boy's presence was a reminder of the innocence and hope that lay at the heart of all things, a beacon guiding him toward the future he sought to create. Eventually, the boy bid farewell, disappearing into the palace with a promise to return. Lian watched him go, his heart full of gratitude for the unexpected encounter. It was a small moment, but one that held great significance, a reminder that even in the heart of the palace, amidst the shadows of intrigue and power, there was light and hope to be found. With a deep breath, Lien rose to his feet, feeling the strength of the earth beneath him. He knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay in wait. He carried with him the memories of those he loved, the lessons of the past, and the promise of a brighter future. As he made his way back through the palace, the corridors bustling with activity, he felt a sense of calm settle over him. He was not alone in this journey. He had allies, friends, and the unwavering belief that change was possible. In the heart of ancient China, amidst the splendor of the palace and the echoes of history, Lien had discovered a truth that transcended the boundaries of time and place. A truth that lay in the strength of the human spirit, in the courage to dream, and in the unbreakable bonds that connected all living things. And as the day unfolded, casting its golden light over the world, Lien stepped forward, ready to embrace the destiny that awaited him. With each step, he carried with him the hopes and dreams of those who had come before, and the promise of a brighter future for those who would follow. The palace grounds were a mosaic of vibrant colors and intricate patterns, a living tapestry woven from the threads of countless stories and whispered secrets. As Lien walked through the gardens, the scent of jasmine lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the beauty that could be found even in the most complex of lives. The sun, a radiant orb of light, bathed the world in its warmth, casting long shadows that danced upon the cobblestones. Lien's journey had been one of transformation, a metamorphosis from a life of obscurity to one of significance. He had faced trials that had tested his resolve, but with each challenge, he had grown stronger, his spirit tempered like steel in the forge. The lessons he had learned were etched into his soul, guiding him as he navigated the intricate web of court life. Yet, beneath the serenity of the palace, there lay a tension, an undercurrent of unease that whispered through the corridors like a phantom wind. The emperor's health had begun to falter, a shadow of uncertainty looming over the realm. The court was a hive of activity, as ministers and concubines alike jostled for position, their ambitions igniting like tinder in the dry season. Lien, however, remained steadfast, his heart anchored by the bonds he had forged. He had allies in Mei and Jian, whose friendship was a balm to his weary soul. They had faced dangers together, their loyalty a beacon in the murky waters of palace intrigue. And there was Xin, whose presence was a constant reminder of love's enduring power. As he walked, Lien's thoughts turned to the emperor, a man both revered and feared. The emperor had been a mentor and a mirror, reflecting the complexities of power and vulnerability. Lien wondered what the future would hold, whether the changes they had dreamed of would come to pass, or whether they would be swept away by the tides of history. In the midst of his contemplation, a voice called out, soft yet urgent. It was Mei, her eyes alight with a mixture of excitement and concern. Lien, she said, her voice a gentle melody in the morning air. There is something you must see. Curiosity piqued, Lien followed her through the winding paths of the garden, the leaves rustling like whispers of old secrets. They arrived at a secluded pavilion, where Jian awaited, his expression one of quiet determination. What is it? Lien asked, his gaze shifting between his two friends. Jian gestured to a parchment spread across the table, its surface covered in intricate characters. This, he said, is a map of the palace and its hidden passages. Lien's heart quickened, the implications of the discovery sparking his imagination. The palace was a labyrinth of secrets, its corridors concealing more than mere rooms and chambers. A map such as this could be a key to unlocking those secrets, a tool for navigating the treacherous landscape of court politics. Where did you find this? Lien inquired, his voice tinged with awe. Mei exchanged a glance with Jian before answering. It was hidden among the late chancellor's belongings. We believe it was intended for his successor, a means of ensuring their influence within the court. The chancellor had been a formidable figure, his influence extending like the branches of an ancient tree. His death had left a void, one that others were eager to fill. The map was a legacy of sorts, a testament to the unseen power that shaped the palace. Lien studied the map, his fingers tracing the lines and symbols that marked secret passageways and concealed chambers. It was a revelation, a glimpse into the hidden heart of the palace. Yet, with knowledge came responsibility, and Lien knew that the map could be both a boon and a burden. "What do we do with this?" Lien asked, his mind racing with possibilities. Jian's expression was thoughtful, his gaze steady. "We use it wisely. There are those within the court who would do anything to possess such knowledge. We must be cautious, but this could be our chance to bring about the change we've longed for." Mei nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "The Emperor's health is failing, and the factions within the court are growing restless. If we can navigate this shifting landscape, we might be able to influence the future in ways we never imagined." Lien felt a surge of hope, tempered by the weight of responsibility. The map was a tool, but it was their hearts and minds that would shape their destiny. Together, they had faced dangers and overcome obstacles, and together, they would forge a path through the uncertainty that lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its golden light over the palace, Lien felt a sense of purpose take root within him. The journey was far from over, but he was not alone. With Mei and Jian by his side, and the memory of those who had come before to guide him, he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited. The map was a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even within the confines of the palace, they held the power to shape their own fate. And as they stood together, united by a shared vision of a brighter future, Lien knew that they were on the cusp of something extraordinary, a transformation that would echo through the corridors of time, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. With renewed resolve, Lien folded the map, placing it carefully within his robes. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was a road they would walk together, guided by the light of hope and the strength of their unbreakable bonds. As the day unfolded before them, they stepped forward, ready to embrace the destiny that awaited, a destiny forged by courage, love, and the enduring power of dreams. The palace, with its sprawling courtyards and intricately carved rooftops, seemed to pulse with a life of its own, each shadow and beam of light playing a silent symphony that only the attuned could hear. As Lien, Mei, and Jian made their way through the labyrinthine paths, their hearts beat in a synchrony that echoed the rhythmic dance of the universe. The golden sunlight filtered through the lattice windows, casting delicate patterns of light on their faces, as if whispering secrets of the ages. The trio moved with a purpose, their destination known only to them. The map, now a sacred artifact of their rebellion, was their guiding star, leading them through the maze of opulence and decadence that was the Emperor's domain. Each corridor they traversed held memories, some painful, others bittersweet, etched into the very stones they tread upon. As they approached the inner gardens, the air thickened with the scent of plum blossoms and the gentle murmur of a koi-filled pond. Here, nature reclaimed its dominion, a serene oasis amidst the regimented chaos of palace life. Mei paused to pluck a single blossom from a low-hanging branch, its petals a vibrant testament to life's fleeting beauty. She tucked it behind her ear, a small act of defiance against the rigid conventions that sought to bind them all. But beneath this calm facade, tension simmered like a dormant volcano. The path they had chosen was fraught with peril, each step a potential misstep that could unravel their carefully woven plans. The Emperor's watchful eyes seemed to lurk in every shadow, a constant reminder of the omnipresent danger that loomed over their heads. They reached the secluded pavilion, a place where whispers of the past lingered in the air, where the walls had witnessed countless secrets and silent pleas for freedom. Here, the trio gathered, their eyes meeting in a silent pact of solidarity and trust. It was time to take the next step, to turn their dreams into reality. Jian, ever the pragmatist, spoke first, his voice a low rumble reminiscent of distant thunder. "We cannot afford hesitation. The moment we choose to act, we must be swift and precise. The Emperor's reach is long, and his wrath unforgiving." Mei nodded, her eyes ablaze with a fire that belied her gentle exterior. "We have allies among the servants and courtiers. They are weary of the tyranny that suffocates these halls. When the time comes, they will aid us." Lien listened, his heart swelling with a mixture of fear and hope. He was no longer the frightened boy who had first entered the palace, ignorant of the world beyond its gilded gates. He was a man now, forged in the crucible of pain and longing, his spirit unyielding and resolute. Yet, as they spoke, a shadow flitted across the courtyard, unseen but felt by all. It was as if the very air had shifted, a subtle warning from the universe itself. Lien's gaze darted to the source, but there was nothing, only the gentle sway of bamboo leaves in the breeze. "Do you feel it?" May whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. Lien nodded, his instincts honed by years of survival. "We're being watched." Jian's hand moved to the hilt of a dagger concealed within his robes, his posture tense and ready. "We should be careful. The Emperor's spies are everywhere." The realization settled over them like a shroud. Their time was running out. The Emperor's patience was as thin as rice paper, and they were treading on the edge of a precipice. But even as the specter of danger loomed, the bond between them grew stronger, an unbreakable chain forged in the fires of adversity. As they left the pavilion, the world outside seemed to hold its breath, the palace grounds cloaked in an eerie stillness. The corridors seemed longer, the shadows deeper, each footfall echoing like a drumbeat in the silence. Yet they moved with a quiet determination, their hearts aligned with the rhythm of their shared purpose. The map, a beacon of hope clutched in Lien's hands, was their guide through the treacherous terrain. It marked the path to freedom, a hidden passage known only to those who dared to dream of escape. It was a path fraught with uncertainty, but also with the promise of a new dawn. They neared an ancient gate, its wood weathered and worn, a relic of a forgotten era. Ivy crept along its surface, a testament to nature's inexorable march. Lien paused, his hand brushing against the rough texture, feeling the weight of history and the countless souls who had stood here before him, yearning for release. With a gentle push, the gate swung open, revealing a dimly lit corridor that stretched into the unknown. The air was cool and damp, the walls whispering tales of clandestine meetings and forbidden liaisons. The path was narrow, the ceiling low, forcing them to hunch as they moved forward. Each step was a leap into the abyss, a journey into uncharted territory. The further they ventured, the more the world behind them faded, replaced by the promise of what lay beyond. Their hearts beat in unison, a comforting rhythm that drowned out the uncertainties that nipped at their heels. But as they delved deeper, the shadows seemed to close in, oppressive and suffocating. It was as if the palace itself sought to ensnare them, to hold them captive within its gilded prison. The air grew thick with the scent of moss and earth, a reminder of the life that thrived beneath the surface, unseen but ever present. Yet hope guided their steps, an unwavering light that pierced the darkness. It was the hope of a future unbound by chains, a world where they could live freely, unburdened by the yoke of servitude. It was the hope of love untainted by power, of dreams unshackled by fear. And as they emerged into the light of a hidden courtyard, the sun kissed their skin with a warmth that spoke of renewal and rebirth. Here, surrounded by the beauty of nature, they paused to catch their breath, to revel in the moment of triumph and possibility. In that sacred space, the past seemed to melt away, leaving only the present and the promise of tomorrow. It was a moment suspended in time, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the indomitable power of hope. Yet, even as they basked in their newfound freedom, they knew that the journey was far from over. The path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, the challenges yet to be faced. But they were ready, their souls fortified by the trials they had overcome, their hearts emboldened by the love they shared. Together, they would forge a new destiny, a legacy that would endure through the ages. And as they stood at the threshold of a new beginning, they knew that they were not alone. For they carried with them the spirit of those who had come before, a chorus of voices that sang of courage, perseverance, and the unyielding pursuit of freedom. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the canopy of ancient trees, casting a soft, golden hue upon the forest floor. They stood side by side, Lu and Xiao, the two who had dared to dream beyond the walls of their confinement. The gentle rustle of leaves whispered secrets of the past to the morning breeze, and the air was thick with the scent of earth and possibilities. The forest around them was alive, a living tapestry of sounds and colors that seemed to pulse with life. The chirping of unseen birds wove a melody, a backdrop to the symphony of their thoughts. The world felt vast and infinite, a realm of endless potential unfurling before them. With each breath, they inhaled the essence of freedom, and with each exhale, they released the shadows of their former lives. Lu glanced at Xiao, his eyes reflecting the early morning light like pools of liquid gold. There was a determination in his gaze, a quiet strength that spoke of the storms he had weathered and the battles he had fought. Xiao met his gaze with a nod, an unspoken promise passing between them. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead. Their journey had been fraught with peril, a path lined with thorns and treachery. Yet here they were, on the cusp of a new chapter, with the world unfurling like a scroll of silk before them. It was a liberation of both body and soul, a shedding of chains that had bound them to a fate not of their choosing. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, the landscape began to shift. The trees grew taller, their trunks thick and ancient, guardians of the secrets of time. The air grew cooler, touched by the whisper of distant waters. It was a place untouched by the machinations of men, a sanctuary where the past could be laid to rest and the future could be crafted anew. Yet, beneath the surface of their triumph, there lingered a shadow of uncertainty. The road ahead was still uncharted, a tapestry of unknowns woven with the threads of hope and fear. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, a dance on the edge of discovery. The forest soon gave way to a clearing, a meadow bathed in the soft glow of the rising sun. Wildflowers dotted the landscape, their colors vibrant against the verdant backdrop. It was a place of beauty and serenity, a haven where they could pause and gather their thoughts. Here, in this oasis of tranquility, they found a moment of respite. Lu lay back on the grass, feeling the earth cool and solid beneath him, grounding him in the present. Xiao sat beside him, his fingers gently tracing patterns in the air, as if weaving a tapestry of dreams. "Do you think they'll come after us?" Xiao's voice was soft, tinged with a hint of apprehension. Lu considered the question, his mind turning over the possibilities. "Perhaps," he admitted, his voice steady. "But we are no longer bound by their rules or their reach. We are free to forge our own path now." The words hung between them, a vow sealed in the quiet of the morning. It was a truth they both clung to, a beacon guiding them through the uncertainties that lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warmth over the land, they rose and continued their journey. The landscape shifted once more, the forest thinning to reveal rolling hills that stretched toward the horizon. It was a land of whispers and echoes, where the past and present intertwined in a delicate dance. With each step, they felt the weight of their pasts lifting, replaced by the lightness of possibility. The world felt alive with promise, a canvas upon which they could paint their destinies. They were no longer bound by the roles they had been assigned, no longer confined by the expectations of others. They were architects of their own fate, free to dream and to dare. As the day wore on, they reached the crest of a hill and paused to take in the vista before them. The land stretched out in a patchwork of colors, fields of green and gold interspersed with the dark lines of distant trees. It was a land that spoke of abundance and life, a place where they could carve out a future. Xiao turned to Lu, his eyes shimmering with emotion. "We could make a home here," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "A place where we can live as we choose, where our love is not a secret to be hidden." Lu nodded, his heart swelling with the promise of new beginnings. "Yes," he agreed, his voice firm. "Here, we can be free." Their decision made, they set to work, their hands and hearts united in purpose. They gathered materials, weaving their dreams into the earth and sky. It was a labor of love, a testament to their resilience and hope. Each stone they placed, each beam they raised, was a step toward a future they could call their own. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, they stood back to admire their handiwork. The structure was simple but sturdy, a home built on the foundation of their shared dreams. It was a place of refuge and possibility, a sanctuary where they could be true to themselves. They lit a fire as dusk settled over the land, the flames dancing in the cool evening air. The warmth of the fire wrapped around them, a cocoon of light in the encroaching darkness. They sat together, their hands entwined, their hearts beating in harmony. In the quiet of the night, they spoke of dreams and desires, of the world they wished to create. They shared stories and laughter, weaving their hopes into the tapestry of the stars above. It was a moment of connection, a reaffirmation of the bond they had forged in the crucible of adversity. Yet, even as they reveled in their newfound freedom, a sense of vigilance lingered at the edges of their awareness. The world beyond their sanctuary was still fraught with danger, the shadows of their past waiting to encroach upon their haven. But they were ready, their spirits fortified by the trials they had endured. As the stars winked into existence, they lay together beneath the vast expanse of the night sky. The world around them was silent, save for the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant call of a nightbird. It was a moment of peace, a lullaby sung by the universe itself. In that sacred space, they found solace in one another, their souls intertwined like the roots of ancient trees. It was a bond forged in the fires of struggle, tempered by the strength of their love. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, their hearts emboldened by the promise of a new dawn. And as they drifted into slumber, cradled in the embrace of the earth and sky, they carried with them the spirit of those who had come before, a chorus of voices that sang of courage, perseverance, and the unyielding pursuit of freedom. Morning arrived with a gentle caress, the first light of dawn spilling like liquid gold across the land. The tranquility of the hour was a balm to their weary hearts, the air crisp and filled with the scent of dew-kissed earth. Yet beneath this veneer of peace, the shadows of their past lingered, like phantoms clinging to the edges of their sanctuary. Liang awoke first, the remnants of his dreams weaving through his consciousness like gossamer threads. His gaze swept over the horizon, where the sun began its ascent, casting long shadows that danced across the landscape. Each shadow seemed to whisper a tale of its own, an echo of the life he and his companions had left behind. Beside him, Ming stirred, his presence a comforting anchor in the vast sea of uncertainty. Ming's eyes fluttered open, meeting Liang's with a quiet resolve that spoke volumes. They had come so far, traversing paths fraught with peril, yet here they stood, together. It was a testament to their resilience, a reminder of the strength found in unity. The world around them was waking, the symphony of nature a vibrant chorus that filled the air. Birds chirped in harmonious delight, and the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze was a melody unto itself. It was a new day, a fresh beginning, a chance to carve out a life unburdened by the chains of the past. But the past was not so easily forgotten. Memories lingered like specters, haunting the recesses of their minds. The palace, with its opulent halls and gilded cages, was a place of beauty and despair, a paradox that had shaped their very existence. Liang recalled the faces of those they had left behind, their fates uncertain in a world where power and ambition often eclipsed compassion. He wondered if they had found their own paths to freedom or if they remained trapped within the confines of the emperor's grasp. It was a thought that weighed heavily on his heart, a reminder of the fragility of hope. Ming, sensing Liang's turmoil, reached out, his hand a gentle reassurance. "We cannot change the past, but we can shape our future," he murmured, his voice a soothing balm. "We carry their spirit with us, a legacy of resilience and courage." Liang nodded, drawing strength from Ming's words. They were the architects of their destiny, and though the road ahead was uncertain, they would face it with unyielding determination. Their journey led them through vast fields of wildflowers, the vibrant blooms a riot of color against the verdant landscape. The air was fragrant with the scent of blossoms, a reminder of the beauty that persisted even in the face of adversity. As they walked, hand in hand, they spoke of dreams and aspirations, weaving a tapestry of hopes for the future. Yet, even in this idyllic setting, the specter of danger loomed, a shadow that threatened to unravel the delicate peace they had found. Whispers of unrest reached their ears, tales of a looming conflict that could shatter the fragile tranquility of the land. It was a reminder that the world was a tapestry of light and dark, a delicate balance that could shift in an instant. The day stretched into afternoon, the sun a blazing orb in the azure sky. They paused by a babbling brook, the water a crystalline ribbon that wound its way through the landscape. It was a moment of respite, a chance to reflect and gather their strength for the challenges that lay ahead. As they rested, Liang's thoughts drifted to the emperor, a figure who had once loomed large in their lives, a puppet master pulling the strings of fate. The emperor's whims were as capricious as the winds, his desires a tempest that threatened to consume all in its path. Yet, even in his absence, his presence lingered, a reminder of the power he wielded. But Liang refused to be shackled by fear. He and Ming had forged a bond stronger than any chain, a love that transcended the boundaries of their past. Together, they would face whatever trials awaited, their hearts fortified by the promise of a new beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, they continued their journey, their path illuminated by the soft glow of twilight. The world around them was a tapestry of shadows and light, a reflection of the duality that existed within their own hearts. Night descended like a velvet cloak, the stars winking into existence one by one. Their sanctuary, though fraught with uncertainty, was a haven, a place where they could dream and hope, unburdened by the weight of the past. And in this sacred space, they found solace in one another, their souls entwined like the roots of ancient trees. Yet, even as they embraced the promise of a new dawn, they remained vigilant, their senses attuned to the whispers of danger that lingered at the edges of their world. For they knew that the path to freedom was fraught with peril, a journey that demanded courage and sacrifice. But they were ready, their hearts emboldened by the trials they had endured. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, their spirits fortified by the strength of their love. And as they drifted into slumber, cradled in the embrace of the earth and sky, they carried with them the spirit of those who had come before, a chorus of voices that sang of courage, perseverance, and the unyielding pursuit of freedom. In the realm of dreams, they wandered through fields of starlight, their path illuminated by the glow of 1,000 suns. It was a journey of the soul, a dance of light and shadow that mirrored the complexities of their own existence. And as they walked, hand in hand, they whispered promises of a future untainted by the chains of the past. For in this sacred space, they were free to dream, to hope, to love. It was a freedom that transcended the physical, a liberation of the spirit that could not be contained by walls or chains. And it was this freedom that would guide them forward, a beacon of light in the darkness. As the night deepened, the stars sang their celestial lullaby, a melody that echoed through the corridors of time. It was a song of hope, a promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities. And in this timeless moment, they found peace, a peace that would sustain them on the journey ahead. For Liang and Ming, the past was but a shadow, a whisper of what had been. The future stretched out before them, an uncharted expanse waiting to be explored. And together, they would traverse this new world, their hearts united by a love that knew no boundaries. And so, beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, they embraced the promise of a new dawn, a dawn that held the key to their freedom and the fulfillment of their dreams. As the first light of dawn began to seep through the silken curtains of their chamber, Liang and Ming lay entwined, their breaths synchronized like the gentle ebb and flow of a tranquil sea. The palace around them was still shrouded in the velvet hush of early morning, a serene interlude before the day's demands would pull at its seams. Ming stirred first, his gaze tracing the soft contours of Liang's face, memorizing each line and shadow as if committing a sacred text to memory. His heart swelled with a mixture of gratitude and quiet determination. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but for the first time, he felt equipped to face it, armed with the strength their newfound freedom had instilled. Slowly, Liang's eyes fluttered open, meeting Ming's with a warmth that rivaled the dawn itself. "Today," he whispered, "we begin anew." They rose together, moving with a silent grace through the opulent confines of their shared world. The air was crisp and cool, carrying with it the scent of jasmine from the gardens below. As they dressed, their garments whispering against skin, the reality of their situation settled around them like a familiar cloak. The palace was a place of both sanctuary and captivity, and navigating its intricate web required a delicate balance of cunning and courage. Their first task was to meet with their ally, Minister Zhao, a man whose influence stretched far beyond the confines of the imperial court. Zhao had been instrumental in orchestrating their escape from the oppressive confines of their former roles, and his continued support would be crucial in the days to come. It was Zhao who had seen the potential in their union, who had dared to envision a future where love could transcend the rigid hierarchies of the court. As they made their way through the labyrinthine corridors, the palace began to stir to life. Servants moved with practiced efficiency, attending to their duties with a quiet diligence. The air buzzed with the muted hum of activity, a symphony of sound that underscored the ever-present tension of palace life. They reached Zhao's chambers, a secluded sanctuary nestled within the heart of the palace. The minister greeted them with a nod, his expression a careful mask of neutrality. "Liang, Ming," he began, his voice a low rumble, "today marks the first step in a journey that will not be easy. There are those who would see you fail, who would seek to pull you back into the shadows." Ming nodded, his resolve unwavering. "We understand the risks," he replied, his voice steady. "But we are ready." Zhao's gaze softened, a flicker of admiration breaking through his composed exterior. "Very well. There are allies within the court who share our vision, who believe in a future where love and loyalty are not dictated by status or power. We must tread carefully, but with their support, we can begin to challenge the old ways." The morning unfolded with a series of hushed discussions and careful planning, each word and gesture laden with significance. Ming and Liang listened intently, absorbing the intricacies of court politics, the delicate dance of alliances and enmities that defined their world. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the palace grounds, they took leave of Minister Zhao, their minds alight with possibilities. The path before them was fraught with peril, yet it shimmered with the promise of change. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparations, the palace a hive of activity as it readied itself for the evening's festivities. An imperial banquet was to be held, a grand affair that would bring together the most influential figures of the court. It was here that Liang and Ming would make their presence known, a subtle yet powerful assertion of their newfound agency. As twilight descended, painting the sky in hues of indigo and gold, they prepared for the evening ahead. Their attire was a harmonious blend of tradition and individuality, a reflection of their unique position within the court. Ming's robe, a rich cerulean, was embroidered with silver threads that caught the light with every movement, while Liang's was a deep crimson, the color of renewal and rebirth. Together, they entered the grand hall, its opulence a testament to the empire's wealth and power. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the murmur of conversation, a tapestry of sound that enveloped them as they made their way through the throng. Eyes followed them, some curious, others disapproving, but Liang and Ming held their heads high, their steps in perfect harmony. They were no longer bound by the constraints of their past, they had become architects of their own destiny. The banquet unfolded in a dazzling display of artistry and indulgence. Musicians played melodies that wove through the air like silken threads, while dancers moved with a fluid grace, their movements telling stories of love and loss, triumph and despair. Amidst the revelry, Liang and Ming navigated the intricate social web, exchanging pleasantries and forming alliances with those who saw the potential in their vision. They were careful not to overstep, mindful of the delicate balance they must maintain, yet within each interaction lay the seeds of change. As the evening wore on, they found themselves at the edge of the gardens, the cool night air a welcome respite from the heat and noise of the banquet. The stars above gleamed like distant lanterns, casting their gentle light over the world below. In this quiet moment, Liang turned to Ming, his gaze filled with a quiet determination. "We have come so far," he murmured, his voice a soft caress. "And though there are challenges yet to face, I believe we are on the cusp of something extraordinary." Ming nodded, his heart swelling with hope. "Together, we can build a future where love is not a luxury, but a right," he replied, his words a solemn vow. The night deepened around them, the world shrinking to the two of them standing beneath the vast expanse of the sky. In that moment, they were free to dream, to hope, to love. It was a freedom that transcended the physical, a liberation of the spirit that could not be contained by walls or chains. And it was this freedom that would guide them forward, a beacon of light in the darkness. As they stood together, their hands entwined, the future stretched out before them, an uncharted expanse waiting to be explored. And together, they would traverse this new world, their hearts united by a love that knew no boundaries. In the distance, the palace continued its timeless dance, a living testament to the endurance of tradition and the promise of change. And within its storied walls, Liang and Ming found their place, a sanctuary where hope and love could flourish in the face of adversity. And so, beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, they embraced the promise of a new dawn, a dawn that held the key to their freedom and the fulfillment of their dreams. As the first light of morning began to paint the horizon with hues of gold and pink, Liang and Ming turned their faces toward the rising sun. Their hearts were full of purpose, and their minds were set on the path ahead. Though the journey would be fraught with challenges, they knew they were not alone. The strength of their bond would carry them through the trials and tribulations that lay ahead. The whispers of the wind carried with them the stories of those who had come before, tales of courage and resilience that inspired their every step. They walked forward, leaving behind the shadows of the past, yet carrying with them the lessons learned and the memories cherished. As they moved away from the palace, its silhouette fading into the dawn, they realized that home was not a place but a feeling, a warmth that resided within their hearts, nurtured by the love they shared. It was this realization that gave them the courage to step into the unknown, ready to weave their own story into the tapestry of the world. The fields around them began to awaken, the earth alive with possibility. Birds sang their morning songs, a symphony that echoed the hope within Liang and Ming's souls. Each note was a reminder that they were part of something much greater, a melody that would carry them forward on this new journey. And so, hand in hand, they ventured into the day, their spirits lifted by the promise of what was to come. Together, they would write the chapters of their lives, guided by the light of the sun and the love that burned brightly within them. In that moment, beneath the vast expanse of the sky, the world seemed infinite, a canvas upon which they could paint their dreams. And as the sun rose higher, casting its golden glow upon the earth, Liang and Ming knew they were free to live, to love, and to create a future all their own. As they walked, each step felt like a brushstroke on the blank canvas of their lives. The path ahead was uncertain, yet thrilling in its mystery. The wind whispered secrets of the past and promises of the future, wrapping around them like an old friend. It was as though the universe itself was conspiring to guide them along their journey, urging them to trust in the power of their dreams. The village behind them slowly faded into the distance, a cherished memory that would always be a part of who they were. Yet, with each passing moment, the horizon beckoned with new possibilities, and they knew that home was no longer a place, but a feeling they carried within their hearts. As midday approached, the sun stood triumphant in the sky, a beacon of warmth and light. Liang and Ming paused on a hill, looking back one last time. The valley below shimmered in the golden light, a tapestry woven with memories and the gentle murmur of life continuing as it always had. They smiled at the familiar sight, knowing that while they were setting forth, they were also carrying the spirit of their roots with them. They turned to face the horizon once more, their eyes filled with dreams of tomorrow. The world stretched vast and beautiful before them, a testament to the endless possibilities that awaited. They felt the earth solid beneath their feet, the sky expanding above, and the love between them, a gentle, unfaltering force. With a shared glance, they set forth again, their footsteps in harmony with the rhythm of the world. The path unfolded gracefully, like a ribbon unfurling before them, leading them to places yet unseen, adventures yet to be lived. And as they journeyed onward, their story became one with the wind and the earth, a part of the eternal dance of life. In that moment, they understood that life was not about the destination, but the journey itself. Each day, each moment, was a gift to be cherished, a note in the grand symphony of existence. And together, they stepped into the unfolding future, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it side by side. For Liang and Ming, the world was no longer just a place to inhabit but a story to be told. A story of courage, of love, and of two souls daring to dream beyond the horizon. And in their hearts, they knew that this was only the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Liang and Ming paused to take in the beauty of the moment. The world around them seemed to hold its breath, suspended in the quiet majesty of twilight. It was as if time itself had stretched, allowing them to linger in this serene interlude between day and night. Their hands intertwined, a silent promise exchanged between them. They felt a profound sense of belonging, not just to each other, but to the vast, interconnected tapestry of life. The gentle breeze carried with it the whispers of ancient stories, tales of those who had walked similar paths, each journey echoing through the ages. With each step, they left behind footprints that would soon be erased by the wind, yet they knew that the true mark of their journey was imprinted in their hearts. It was a journey of growth, of discovery, of learning to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. Every laugh, every shared silence, every challenge overcome became a thread in the intricate weave of their shared existence. As stars began to scatter across the velvet sky, a quiet understanding settled over them. The world was full of infinite possibilities, and they were free to explore its every corner. They were travelers, dreamers, architects of their own destiny, bound not by the confines of a single path but liberated by the endless potential of the unknown. And so, with the night as their witness, they continued forward, guided by the light of their shared dreams and the unwavering certainty that together, they could weather any storm. The road ahead was vast and mysterious, but it was theirs to navigate, a canvas upon which they would paint the next chapter of their lives. In that gentle, tranquil evening, beneath the starlit sky, Liang and Ming embraced the boundless wonder of life, knowing that their story was just beginning. And as the world held them in its gentle embrace, they walked on, side by side, their hearts alight with hope and love, ready to embrace whatever dawn would bring. The night whispered promises of new beginnings as Liang and Ming continued their journey, the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet becoming a comforting rhythm. Each step they took echoed with purpose and possibility, a reminder that their story was written not in stone but in the ever-shifting sands of time. The gentle breeze carried with it the scent of blooming jasmine, infusing the air with a sweet, heady fragrance that seemed to mirror the warmth burgeoning in their hearts. They paused for a moment, letting the cool night air wash over them, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange that spoke volumes. There was no need for words. The bond they shared transcended language, woven from the threads of shared experiences, dreams, and an unspoken promise to always be there for one another. As they resumed their walk, the landscape around them transformed into a tapestry of shadows and light, the moon casting a silvery glow that danced upon the path ahead. It was a reminder that even in darkness, there was beauty to be found, lessons to be learned, and dreams to be realized. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, a testament to the adventures yet to come. They knew there would be challenges, Moments that would test their resilience and resolve, but they also knew they would face them together, hand in hand, heart in heart. The future was an open book, its pages waiting to be filled with their shared laughter, tears, and triumphs. In that sacred moment beneath the stars, Liang and Ming understood that life was not a destination but a journey, one they were privileged to embark upon together. As they ventured further into the night, leaving behind the familiar and stepping into the unknown, they carried with them the unwavering belief that love was the compass that would guide them home. And so, under the watchful gaze of the cosmos, they walked on, their spirits intertwined, their dreams aligned, ready to greet the dawn with open hearts and minds. The world was vast, the possibilities endless, and as they disappeared into the embrace of the night, it was clear that their story, like the stars above, would shine brightly for all of eternity. In the gentle hush of the night, where silence sang its own sweet lullaby, Liang and Ming moved forward, each step a testament to the promises whispered between them. The path was illuminated by the soft glow of the moon, casting shadows that danced playfully around them, as if echoing the joy that filled their hearts. The village they left behind would remember them as two souls daring enough to dream beyond the confines of what was known. Friends and family would speak of their courage, of the way their love became a beacon, illuminating what it meant to truly live and love fearlessly. The tales of their journey would ripple through time, inspiring others to seek the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. As the night deepened, the stars grew brighter, each one a tiny guardian watching over their journey. The constellations seemed to form new patterns, weaving tales of hope and adventure, stories that had been waiting for them to listen. It was as if the universe itself rejoiced in their union, celebrating the harmony they had found within each other's embrace. Liang and Ming knew that challenges would arise, as they always do in the course of life. Yet, they were comforted by the knowledge that they would face each obstacle with grace and strength, drawn from the wellspring of their shared love. They understood that the journey was as important as the destination, and that every twist and turn only added depth and richness to their story. As dawn began to paint the sky with hues of gold and pink, a new day beckoned, filled with promise and potential. Hand in hand, they stood on the cusp of tomorrow, ready to etch their legacy into the fabric of time. Their love, like a timeless melody, would echo through the ages, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who dared to believe in the power of togetherness. And so, with the first light of daybreak kissing their faces, Liang and Ming walked on, guided by the unwavering light of love, their journey an endless horizon of discovery. The world lay before them, vast and uncharted, a canvas upon which they would paint their dreams, knowing that as long as they had each other, they were already